In the early 19th century, Napoleon Bonaparte conquered half of Europe. But his most formidable weapon was not the armies he led, it was debt. Cannons might win battles, but credit builds empires. What if the true power behind Napoleon's empire was financial mastery? France entered the 19th century a shattered financial corpse. The revolution had destroyed monarchy, aristocracy, and the trust in money itself. Paper currency worth nearly nothing left the nation bankrupt and desperate for stability. Amid this chaos, Napoleon seized power in 1799. He understood that real power comes not just from muskets, but from money that people believe in. This belief was the soul of any financial system, and Napoleon was about to wield it as a weapon. His approach was psychological. He declared, "Credit is to money what the soul is to the body." In 1800, he founded the Banque de France, a private institution under his control, to restore trust and command the flow of money across the nation. Unlike the chaotic revolutionary years before him, Napoleon did not flood France with worthless paper money. Instead, he issued new currency backed by silver and gold, and importantly, by his own authority. Coins bore his face. France's money was Napoleon himself. The Banque de France issued stable banknotes and managed national debt. This gave merchants, soldiers, and citizens confidence that their pay would hold value. For the first time in a decade, France had a functioning financial system again. But Napoleon's system was not about a free market. It was about control. The bank answered to him, and its policies served his wars. Money and military were fused into one coherent system of power. War was extraordinarily expensive. From Italy to Austria, from Prussia to Russia, Napoleon needed a constant river of funding for weapons, horses, food, and soldiers. Gold was too scarce. He had something better: credit. Napoleon perfected a trick still used by governments today. He borrowed against future victories by issuing government bonds promising repayment after conquests. Merchants and bankers bought these bonds, betting on his success. Each victory increased confidence. Each treaty raised the bond's value. Money created more war, and war created more debt. It was a self-feeding illusion of prosperity, with Napoleon as its master conductor. Behind this system stood financiers who understood the game. Precursors to the Rothschilds, men like Gabriel Julian Huvar and the Perugio brothers speculated on Napoleon's campaigns and moved gold across blockades. Finance became a second battlefield, silent, invisible, but deadly. Napoleon called financiers without patriotism and without decency, yet he needed them as much as they needed him. Together, they built a European credit machine. Endless debt fed endless war. But there was a dark side. The system only worked as long as everyone believed it could never stop. Confidence was the fragile foundation of this empire of borrowed trust. By 1805, the cost of the Napoleonic Wars was devouring billions in today's money: gold, silver, credit, and supplies. The Banque de France was quietly printing paper it could no longer fully back. The empire's foundation was hollowing out. Armies needed feeding, cities rebuilding, pensions to pay, and loans to renew. The empire expanded rapidly, but tax revenues couldn't keep pace. The richer provinces were drained to sustain the war effort, squeezing every resource. When provincial funds ran dry, Napoleon demanded more. He dictated budgets to conquered nations, forced them to mint his coins, and ordered them to buy French goods at inflated prices. What began as finance became extraction. Britain understood the vulnerability of such a system. The British Navy ruled the seas, imposing a blockade preventing gold shipments and supplies to France. France was rich in glory, but poor in liquidity, trapped on its continent. Merchants struggled to move cargo. Factories couldn't export goods, and the treasury couldn't balance its books. The debt machine was now consuming itself. The financial empire Napoleon built was grinding toward collapse. In response, Napoleon doubled down. He nationalized key parts of France's economy, dictated interest rates himself, and used prefects to enforce taxes with military precision. Resistance was treated as treason. He seized church lands, confiscated enemies' assets, and compelled wealthy citizens to make forced loans. Each conquest became a financial transaction, with the conquered paying the interest on empire's ever-growing debt. For a few years, the strategy seemed to work. Paris gleamed with marble. Soldiers were paid on time, and the French franc was once again hailed as stable. New institutions, exchanges, and mints gave the illusion of legitimacy. But beneath the surface, the empire was held together by confidence alone. The moment belief faltered, the entire system would unravel. Money had become more than currency. It was the very extension of empire itself. Across the Channel, Britain was watching carefully. They recognized Napoleon's financial system as a threat, but also saw its weaknesses. Unlike France's authoritarian control, Britain's system was based on trust and investor confidence. Founded a century earlier, the Bank of England became the heart of a rival empire fueled by democratic debt. British government bonds, known as consols, became Europe's financial safe haven, attracting aristocrats, merchants, and foreign rulers. Every war France fought demanded more coercion and faith in Napoleon's genius. Meanwhile, every war Britain fought strengthened its institutions, navy, markets, and currency. Napoleon ruled by command, Britain ruled by trust. This was the real war, not on battlefields, but in bond markets and balance sheets. The empire that could borrow longest, the one that issued paper others believed in, would ultimately rule Europe's fate. In 1806, Napoleon struck back with the continental system, a sweeping embargo designed to choke Britain's trade and collapse its credit. He believed financial revenge could conquer the seas where armies could not. European nations under French control were forbidden from importing British goods. Napoleon hoped to destroy Britain's commerce and credit simultaneously, crippling its capacity to fund wars and imperial reach. But empires reliant on control often underestimate resilience. Britain rerouted trade through the Americas, India, and Asia. Its navy protected new routes. Its merchants found new buyers, and its colonies filled vital supply gaps. Meanwhile, continental Europe suffocated. Without British goods, prices soared. Sugar, coffee, textiles, and iron became luxuries. Factories closed, ports emptied, and entire towns faced hunger and hardship. Black markets flourished, smuggling exploded, and corruption became the unofficial economy of the empire. The continental system, designed to destroy Britain, instead isolated France and deepened economic decay. By 1810, even Napoleon's closest allies began secretly breaking the embargo. Holland, Spain, and parts of Germany smuggled British goods through neutral ports, bribing officials to look the other way. Napoleon responded with repression, issuing new decrees, sending inspectors, and jailing merchants. But this only deepened the rot. The machine was running out of fuel, grinding itself to dust with every desperate turn. By 1812, the illusion was cracking. Napoleon's army still marched, but its strength was running on credit. Soldiers were paid with money that no longer held value, supplies were rationed, and morale faltered on the march to Russia. This campaign was not just a military disaster. It was a financial catastrophe. As the army retreated, the empire's last line of credit collapsed. Paper money lost credibility. Merchants refused government notes. The Banque de France was reduced to desperation, borrowing from private financiers to stay afloat. Even army quartermasters began issuing local scripts to maintain trade. Napoleon, once confident in immortal credit, was now bankrupt in every sense. The empire was devouring itself from within, collapsing not with an invasion, but through an unraveling of trust. Yet even in defeat, Napoleon's financial blueprint endured beyond his empire. When old monarchies returned after Napoleon's fall, they retained the Banque de France. They recognized the power of controlling credit. This hybrid institution balanced political authority with financial expertise. The bank could issue currency, manage debt, stabilize markets, and fund wars. It maintained the illusion of independence while effectively serving the rulers who controlled it, a perfect paradox in monetary governance. Prussia copied it, Austria studied it, Russia envied it, and the young United States watched and learned. By mid-19th century, most major powers built their own version of the Napoleonic financial blueprint. Yet, the greatest financial beneficiary was Britain. The struggle with Napoleon forced Britain to perfect its own financial system, a debt-based democracy that thrived while Napoleon's empire crumbled. By 1815, British government bonds were considered as good as gold. Its navy ruled the seas, its merchants financed global commerce, and the pound sterling became the world's first true reserve currency. Napoleon dreamed of continental domination. Britain achieved global domination, not through battlefields, but through balance sheets. The pound sterling became the world's anchor, with the Bank of England as its heartbeat. In an ironic twist, Napoleon's financial warfare created the victory of his enemy. His debt machine forced London to innovate, stabilize, and build systems that endure in global finance to this day. After the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon's personal debts were staggering. He left unpaid bills and unfulfilled promises. Yet it was not his battles but his financial architecture that defined his enduring legacy. The fusion of political will with financial control created the idea that nations could spend tomorrow's money to win today's wars. This debt-fueled growth philosophy defines the modern world's economy. Every modern government borrows to meet its promises. Every central bank prints money to avoid collapse. Nations believe they can manage debt indefinitely. As long as confidence holds, the machine will run. But history offers a caution. Every empire built on borrowed trust ultimately meets the same fate, not with armies, but with silence. The silence when faith runs out. Napoleon's rise and fall show us that money is not numbers. It is belief. It is psychology, control, and power, the invisible foundation of civilization itself. And when that foundation rests on debt, not discipline, collapse becomes inevitable. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but always in time. Are we merely living inside Napoleon's machine? If you've been intrigued by Napoleon's financial strategies, stay tuned for our next video where we explore the evolution of modern banking institutions and their influence today. Explore more in our carefully curated playlist on financial history and economic revolutions, available on this channel. Discover how the past shapes today's finance. What part of Napoleon's financial machine surprised you the most? Share your thoughts below. Your insights enrich this ongoing conversation about money and power. If you found this video insightful, consider subscribing to support deeper dives like this. We bring history, finance, and economics to life with calm, thoughtful storytelling. Your curiosity drives the conversation forward. Thank you for watching and stay curious as we continue to uncover the hidden stories behind money and power.